In December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases in China. Investigations found that it was caused by a previously unknown virus, now named the 2019 novel coronavirus. In this video, we'll take a quick look at what's currently known about the virus. Keep in mind that this is a new virus, and what's known about the virus now might change in the future. Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses. They consist of a core of genetic material surrounded by an envelope with protein spikes. This gives it the appearance of a crown. Crown in Latin is called corona, and that's how these viruses get their name. There are different types of coronaviruses that cause a number of human diseases, such as respiratory and sometimes gastrointestinal disease. The respiratory disease can range from the common cold to pneumonia, and in most people the symptoms tend to be mild. However, there are some types of coronaviruses that can cause severe disease. These include the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus in China in 2003 and the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus that was first identified in Saudi Arabia in 2012. The 2019 novel coronavirus was first identified in China.
This is Ground Zero, Wuhan, central China's most populous city with about 11 million residents, a transportation hub filled with outdoor markets. In mid-December, some shop owners in one of those markets came down with fevers, fatigue, dry coughs. A 61-year-old man checked into hospital when his cough got worse. By the end of December, doctors were concerned they were dealing with a SARS-like virus. That market was shut down on New Year's Day. And a week later, authorities confirmed the first known death from this outbreak. A coronavirus usually circulates among animals, most often bats and snakes. Their droppings can contaminate fruits and vegetables eaten by livestock. These so-called wet markets are common in China, where caged chickens and raw meat are sold side by side, conditions that can lead to that rare transmission from animals to humans. The virus is new, it's mutating quickly. Scientists don't yet have a name for it. Hospital staff simply charting it up as 2019-CoV. The coronavirus has spread to parts of Asia, and now there are confirmed cases in France and the United States.
We'll go to some questions.
So far, no reported cases in Canada, though health officials say several people are under observation. With the shutdown of Wuhan and the cancellation of Lunar New Year celebrations, the Chinese government is now watching to see if this outbreak can be contained.
And still the numbers grow. Officially 41 dead and more than 1,300 infected with the new virus, the majority in Wuhan, Hubei province, where this all began. Today, China's President Xi Jinping warned it was spreading. And indeed, scientists at Imperial College London suggest as many as 4,000 people were infected by January the 18th. And that each person was infecting as many as 3 others, showing how hard this will be to contain. With pressure growing on the Chinese government, much of the country has now declared a level 1 public health alert. All transport in and out of Wuhan has been stopped. From tomorrow, all vehicle use, including private cars, will be banned from downtown. In the city of 11 million, 6,000 taxis will be deployed to help people get around. It is in quarantine. Wuhan in Hubei province remains the epicenter with the largest number of cases, but there are now reports from across China, and it has spread to Hong Kong and elsewhere in Asia, and further still to the United States, Australia and France, where 3 patients have now tested positive. In Hong Kong, where they have had 5 cases, today the government announced it was raising its emergency response to the highest level, with schools to remain closed for 2 more weeks after the Lunar New Year celebrations.
We need to step up our immigration control. We have to control the spread of the disease. First of all, we're going to stop flights and high-speed trains from Wuhan. We will wait until we're fully in control of the outbreak before we resume flights, as well as the high-speed train service.
31 people in the UK have been tested, but all are negative. Public health teams have been placed at Heathrow Airport in London for any passengers feeling unwell. And Channel 4 News understands that medical teams will also be placed at other major airports around the country over the next few days. Yet China remains the focus of this outbreak. In Wuhan, their medical facilities are being overwhelmed. They're now building 2 new hospitals to cope, and the Chinese military has sent in 450 medical staff.
This is a very large outbreak. This is Dr. Bill Schaffner. I'm an infectious disease specialist and public health person. Coronaviruses are a whole family of viruses. For the most part, they don't cause any real clinical illness except the occasional cold. But you know, from time to time, there's a rogue coronavirus that develops. We remember SARS 2002, 2003, and then there was another, the MERS virus, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome virus. This new virus, like those other rogue viruses, probably was first transmitted to humans from animals. So the symptoms resemble influenza. It's a respiratory virus initially, and so you have fever, not feeling very well, cough, and just feeling poorly. We don't have a direct anti-coronavirus treatment. We can manage the patients through symptomatic care and supportive care, of course. And many patients already, the Chinese have said, have survived this infection. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have this top of the mind. They have deployed over 100 people to New York, to San Francisco, and Los Angeles. They will be screening people who are arriving from particularly Wuhan, China, to see whether they are sick. So there are laboratories around the world, including our own National Institutes of Health, that are now already working on developing a rapid diagnostic test. And the other thing they're doing is starting to work on a vaccine. The global community is really watching this with great care, and we in the United States definitely are on the alert and ready to respond.
A newly identified coronavirus that emerged in the city of Wuhan in central China is now known to be transmissible between people. There have been a number of deaths reported and hundreds of infections around the country, and the number of confirmed cases outside China is growing. But what is a coronavirus? There are many coronaviruses found in animals, but only about 6 are known to affect humans. The strain discovered in Wuhan has been found to cause severe lung disease. The first reported human infections were among people who visited the seafood and meat wholesale market in the city. It has since been closed by health officials. Only a block away from one of Wuhan's major train stations, the market reportedly sold a range of animal meat, including peacocks, koalas, Chinese giant salamanders, masked palm civets, and bamboo rats. The location as well as timing of the outbreak are causing great concern. Wuhan is a major transport hub in central China, and the spike in cases started just ahead of a massive travel rush for the Lunar New Year. It is known as the biggest annual migration of people on the planet. The infection has already turned up in Hong Kong, which was hit hard by an earlier coronavirus originating on the Chinese mainland. The deadly coronavirus known as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, or SARS, paralyzed the city in late 2002 and early 2003. That experience has people in Hong Kong quickly ramping up protective measures. Doctors are reminding patients to avoid crowds as well as contact with animals if possible. After touching surfaces in public areas, good personal hygiene should include washing hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water, or at least a hand sanitizer. Face masks may help, but as demand rises, some pharmacies are limiting purchases to a single box. Hong Kong authorities have already earmarked 2 sites to serve as quarantine centers. Some health experts have suggested that the mortality and infection rate for this coronavirus is, for now, less worrying than it was during similar outbreaks in the past. But as the number of cases around the world continues to rise, governments and health professionals are preparing for the worst.
As coronavirus spreads through China, drugstores are selling out of surgical masks. Take a look through the news stories and you'll see photos of concerned citizens with their faces covered. But is covering your mouth enough to prevent this life-threatening illness? And if not, what's really the best way to stay healthy? We spoke with an expert to better understand this outbreak.
So coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that are responsible for about 25% of cases of the common cold. Before this latest outbreak, there were 6 coronaviruses that were known to infect humans, and 4 of them were just kind of common cold viruses that occasionally could cause pneumonia or severe disease.
Coronavirus is an umbrella term that refers to a family of upper respiratory diseases, including the common cold, MERS, and SARS. The virus can present in several ways, sometimes as a mild illness, and sometimes as a life-threatening disease. The current strain in China is highly contagious. Hundreds of people have been infected, and several have died. On January 21st, it was confirmed that this strain of coronavirus has made its way to the US. Soft surgical masks, like the one shown here, are designed to prevent the wearer from spreading their germs to others, but they won't prevent inhalation of airborne germs. Their loose sides reduce their effectiveness as a barrier against disease. To block out the greatest number of airborne germs, you'd need an N95 respirator mask. This mask is what a surgeon would wear around a patient with a highly infectious disease like tuberculosis. These masks aren't a foolproof solution for the public either. Surgeons get their masks fitted and generally only wear them for a short period of time. Just buying a mask from the drugstore wouldn't give you the same snug fit around the mouth that keeps those germs from getting in. Furthermore, respirator masks actually filter air, which makes them a great barrier against disease. But according to Dr. Amish Adalja, they restrict oxygen flow too much to be worn all day. A study conducted by the University of New South Wales found that when worn correctly, these masks had an 80% efficacy rate of protecting the wearer against a proven viral infection.